Oh, hi there, and welcome to Life Unscripted with Coach Kanye. I am Coach Kanye, and today I want us to talk about identifying the toxic relationship you have with you. A lot of the times when we think about toxic relationships, we always think about them outside of ourselves. We're always thinking about the toxic romantic relationship. We're always thinking about the toxic friendships. We're always thinking about how we've identified toxicity in other people's relationships. But what we never think about is how toxic the relationship that you have with yourself is. So I want you to just think about, pause this, take a second, take a really deep breath and think about, how am I toxic to myself? One of the ways in which you identify this toxicity is, what is your mental chatter about you? What thoughts do you think about yourself? What level of self-compassion and kindness do you have about yourself? So when you make a mistake, when you do something wrong, when you do something that you perceive as something bad, where does your mind go? I don't want the glasses. They don't make me look cool. I'm gonna take those off. What is your mental story? What do you tell yourself when you've done something bad? Because a toxic self-relationship, you call yourself every single bad thing in the book. You are so mean to yourself. You are so cruel to yourself. You are so rude to yourself. You call yourself a piece of shit. Like, can you imagine you call you a piece of shit? The messages that you have for yourself are so incredibly awful that they create toxicity within you. Now, this is what I also want you to know, that sometimes we are repeating messages that we've heard from our childhood. Sometimes those words, those mean, demeaning words that we say to ourselves, those are things that have been said to us. So for us to be able to start healing that negative self-talk journey so that we can start this relationship that is healthy with ourselves, we have to know, where is this story coming from? Who told me this? Why did they tell me this? What were they going through when they said this to me? Sometimes people project their own pain to us. Sometimes people project the way that they feel about themselves onto us. Sometimes people call us pieces of shit because they think they're pieces of shit. Sometimes people call us useless because they think that they're useless. Sometimes people call us lazy because they think that they are lazy. And we start to internalize their mental chatter about themselves that they've transferred to us, and we start to believe that that's what we think about ourselves. So the work that I want you to do as you're watching this, grab your journal. Before you go grab your journal, pause the video, go grab your journal, come back, subscribe, hit that bell so you know the next time we have a new episode here on Life Unscripted with Coach Kanye. Also, I'm going to tell you that I live in Mexico, so I sweat all the time. Let me wipe it and put it in my hair. The second thing I want you to start paying attention to, as you're starting to understand how toxic this relationship with you is, I want you to think about, what are the things that I am afraid of? What are the things that cripple me and put me down and make me feel less than? What fears do I hold that I allow to control my life? We don't think about that level of toxicity. We don't think about, how toxic is it that I am not pursuing my deepest desires, that I'm not pursuing my biggest goals and dreams because I have created this toxic relationship with fear. That I have created this toxic relationship that allows me to lean into fear. Whether I'm afraid of failing, whether I'm afraid of succeeding, whether I'm afraid of people's opinions, whether I'm afraid of what people will say, whether I've failed before, now I'm afraid to fail again. So I'm not going to do anything different because fear has created this toxic relationship with me. We don't think about that. We don't think about how sometimes we allow fear to hold us back so much that we are in a perpetual state of toxicity within ourselves. We're in a perpetual state of self-discomfort. And that relationship with ourselves is toxic. So when you start exploring those fears that you have that make me think that perhaps you have a bad, toxic, unhealthy relationship with yourself, in the ways that it stops you from becoming the best version of yourself. It stops you from becoming the best version of yourself, the person that you've always wanted to become. I want you to journal, and this is what I want you to say. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of that is keeping me in situations that I no longer want to be? The toxic relationship I have with myself in romantic relationships, for example, is I stay in relationships that are no longer aligned with me because I'm afraid of being alone. That could be your story too. Your story could also be, I'm afraid to try new things. I'm afraid to push myself out of my comfort zone because I am afraid of failing. What are you afraid of? What is the cycle of toxicity that is keeping you stuck in your life? The next thing I want to explore is you're looking at your life as a holistic being and trying to think, what ways am I toxic to myself? I want you to think about the unhealthy behaviors that you engage in. The unhealthy behaviors that you engage in. I had to really sit with myself and go, Kanye, why do you drink alcohol so much? Why do you need alcohol? What does it do for you? And I realized that it was numbing. It was making me feel nothing. But here's the truth about alcohol. It makes you feel a lot. You just avoid. It is a temporary fix. So for me, I had to realize that the negative relationship that I have with myself and the fear of feeling my feelings, the fear of leaning into the discomfort of my feelings was making me reach for unhealthy, self-destructive behaviors. Alcohol was one of those. Gossip was also one of those. What doesn't feel good for my soul, but I do it anyway because I don't really want to feel what I truly, genuinely do feel. Again, I want you to journal about this. What are your unhealthy behaviors? Is it food? Are you eating to numb your pain? Is it friendships that you know just being surrounded by motherfuckers you know you should not be surrounded by? But to avoid what you need to face, to avoid what you need to fix, you fill your time with these people. What are some toxic behaviors that show you that you are in a toxic relationship with yourself? It is so easy for us to identify toxicity outside of us. Pause, subscribe, know when we have a next episode coming out. I'm really excited. Week after week, we are going to be sitting together and we are going to be talking about life. And it is going to be unscripted. And I'm going to sit and just talk. Like this topic, I just sat down and I was like, I want to talk to you about the toxic relationship you have with yourself. I want nothing scripted because fuck it, there's no manual for this shit. We're just here trying, all of us. We're just here doing the very fucking best that we can. There is no script. So Life Unscripted is us knowing that there is no script, but we can guide each other. We can help each other. We can develop each other. We can strengthen each other. We can be that iron sharpens iron for each other. That's why it's Life Unscripted. There are no rules. It's just experience. And I get to be your guide in this journey, so I'm really excited about that. So do subscribe and come back next week and the week after and start to grow and start to build yourself up. So as we continue, how are you toxic for you, baby? How are you toxic for you? How are you harmful towards you? And when you do these exercises that make you look at yourself, I want you to know this is when you step out of victimhood mentality. This is when you step out of the blame game. This is when you take control of your life and say, what about me attracts this shit? How am I toxic for myself? And I also want to call you to this before I end it. You know, I don't like this being too long. I have started a 90-day self-love journaling experience where you end this next 3 months of the year with you, where you end this next 3 months of 2023 pouring love and grace and compassion and all the love to yourself. You will find it linked in the description, and I will see you next week for another video.